What's going on? My name is Yori, and behind me I've got my 2012 Leisure Travel Free Spirit. I installed the WeBoost RVX antenna today and wanted to walk you guys through the install. You could probably use this install on a regular Sprinter van the way that I did it, or other similar models like the Winnebagos or potentially even the Airstreams if it's got the same type of floor plan. So check it out. I started my install here. This was just the best point for me. I put it on the back of my rig. I didn't want it sticking up in the front. As you can see there, I used some self-tapping screws to go right into the awning support. There's no structural issues that I can see with that. And then now it's pretty much above my awning. My AC is going to block it a little bit. I can always get an extender if I wanted that. And then from there, just use the cable management system that WeBoost provides right back into here. So you can see here I've got my rear camera, and I just went right into the same port that the rear camera was in. We're inside here. It's difficult for you guys to see with this camera, I know, but basically that's it goes right through that hole, the cable, and I'm actually going to tuck it through here, which is the top support for the roof, and I'm going to bring it down, fish it all the way through here, down through there. Probably can't see it, but I've got my glow rod. Yeah, you can see it right there. So I've got that out there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my coat hanger that I used to fish out my glow rod to, I'm going to attach it to the coax cable here and then run it through this opening here, right? That's where it comes from the roof line to where my glow rod is. I'm going to bring it out there. I'm going to then duct tape my glow rod together with my coax and then drag it out again right through there. Alrighty, so I have my glow rod and my cable all duct taped up. As you can see, so we all know my cable is going this way, right? So I've looped it out around so it actually meets flush with the glow rod. This is really important, guys, because if you don't do this, your coax is going to get stuck in these channels when you pull your glow rod out, and that's going to be a nightmare for you. So make your life easy. Make sure it's your cable is running in the same direction as your glow rod. You want it to be going this direction. All right, so here's where I'm at. So basically what I did is I removed this cover right here. All right, that actually goes over your door hardware. Okay, and I found this little point right here to be able to fish all the way up. And so I'm gonna be able to pull my cable down to about here, and then the next step is I'm going to fish down to here. There's something blocking it in here when I was trying to fish earlier, and the length of this rod isn't long enough to get down to here. So this is the easiest spot to be able to make that curve. As you see, you got to make the curve up there into that spot there. So there you go. So I got the cable through this little hole here. Again, the reason why I went through here and not to where I actually really want to be, which is right here, is just because I didn't have a long enough glow rod. And the other thing too is it was easier to fish this for a shorter run than for that really long run, because the way that the hinge and everything else comes through here. So again, cable management, the way that you tie your cable on or you tape your cable on to your glow rod is really, really important. So again, if you go like this and you tape it on, you're asking for a world of hurt. You're not gonna have any room to get through that hole. And it's just gonna be extremely difficult for you, and you'll probably break the cable. I always recommend going with the same line as the glow rod. Now in this particular case, I'm gonna do what I call a daisy chain. It's a little bit risky because you may lose your glow rod or your cable in here if the tape rips, but I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, for all you guys who do this stuff on a regular basis, you know that there's better terms than daisy chain for what I just did. But basically, there's actually no cable in here. I'm using the tape or the duct tape as a bridge, and the reason being is that's extremely flexible. Now again, if I'm pulling too hard and this catches on a sharp corner, then again it could rip and my cable can be stuck in here, and I'm gonna have to fish that out. It's a risk I'm willing to take. If you're not willing to take it, then I would suggest getting a longer glow rod. I think this is like a 6-foot one. I would go with like a 7 or one that you can add on to, and you won't have this problem. All right, so success, got the cable through. The next step is to put this on right here. This is the cover that for this access point. And so what I'm actually gonna do, as you can see, it's not gonna work very well for me to screw this back in none of the drill holes or the screw holes actually align. So I'm going to drill a small hole right back here. Now this is plastic, and plastic, as a lot of you know, gets brittle over time, so I'm going to be very careful when drilling this. And then I'm going to bring the cable through and we'll work on the rest of it. So I got the cover back on, and drill hole right there. Make sure that the cover seats on top of this right here. If not, you're gonna have problems aligning the cover back up with the right holes. So next thing, as you can see, I am running out of cable. So I'm gonna see how far, I'm gonna do a test run. I'm not gonna anchor anything down, but I'm gonna see how far this cable will go, and that'll determine where I place my actual power box. So what I'm going to be using is, again, I'm going to be using the WeBoost cable management little system that they provided. And I'm sure if you guys hear me say WeBoost cable management one more time, you're going to turn this video into a drinking game. I always recommend using rubbing alcohol to clean the particular areas you're going to be attaching these to, just because that's going to allow it to get the best adhesion. And I'm actually going to pin the whole cable down all the way out to the wheel well. I believe this is going to give me, A, I'm not going to have to worry about the cable getting caught, and B, it's out of the way. I got my cable management down, or the little system, and I'm actually going to bring the cable right along the hot water and cold water pipe. It actually brings it right into the little wheel well box, which is going to be the place where I mount my booster. All right, I got my cable ran, you can see right there. Super clean, guys. I mean, look, right there, all the way down to there. I really like how that came out. I've got my booster. And so for here, if you guys aren't familiar with them, you've got antenna in, and you've got outside and power. I'm actually gonna pull the power from the smoke detector. It's a 3 amp circuit. I may have to put like a 5 amp fuse in there. Really don't think I will. I like this because if I ever want to store the coach, then all I got to do is pull the cushion here and unplug it. But at the end of the day, it's out of the way. This is actually really thin, so I'm not going to be drilling in that. I would hate the look of that. I'm actually going to use command strips. I'm sure most of you know, if you don't have command strips in a coach, you are missing out on a piece of heaven. All right, I'm at the fuse box, ready to pull the fuse to deactivate the power to that propane detector. One thing I love about Leisure Travel, though, is the fact that they list out everything. If you guys haven't watched any videos about how these are made, it's incredible. Every little piece of shrouding that you pull down, that I've pulled down, is going to have some sort of an indicator that allows Leisure Travel to make this individual piece again. So the fuse here is on position 2, so it's right here. So I'm going to pull this and get things going. All right, so I have my cables here. Guys, I recommend getting a voltmeter just to make sure you know exactly what power is going to what wire. You've got black and red coming out of the propane detector, and you've got the wires, the house wires, which are yellow and white. So make sure you match up the right wires with the right wires. Again, this is pretty common sense, but I want to make sure everybody's safe when doing this. I have a couple things here. I got all my wiring done. I just use wiring nuts for that. I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but that's what I chose to use for this one. I've got my booster mounted, and I put the power supply right next to it, again on command strips, just so it's not bumping around, moving around. Important, there's like a fan or a ventilation area on the outside of that unit there, and so you want to make sure that that's facing out so you can have adequate ventilation. Okay, so I've got my indoor WeBoost antenna, and for the wire routing for that, I connected it, brought it off there, brought it around by the water lines. There's a screen that goes right here. Took off the 5 bolts for that, routed the wire with some fish tape underneath there, or glow rod through there. You can see it there. And now I'm going to route it up right through that little light. So I'm not even going to have to drill or do anything, and I'm going to be able to keep my antenna right there on the counter. All right, so as you can see there, I've got my cable tucked up, and WeBoost mounted. All right, so I've got it on some command strips, and I've got it facing the driver's side. Here's the thing, WeBoost recommends having this slimmer portion pointed towards the antenna. My antenna is behind me, and so I'm all set there. And then I tucked the extra cable right there. The reason why I have it on the outside is I didn't want it to pull on anything on the inside of that cabinet there when I'm pulling it out. I'm also going to probably relocate this when I'm sleeping or when I want power and I'm in the back bed. to the other side of the cabinet. So this should be all good.